Welcome to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Mark. As you can see, no Luke today. Luke is off again today. Has some other doctor's appointments to attend to, so it's just me, just by myself, with you guys today, talking about this Grizzlies team. We're here every single day. Luke and I usually together at 9 a.m. Always talking Grizzlies every day. And so back again today for the Thursday episode. We're talking a lot of things today. Grizzlies, Pacers happen tonight. The possible Brandon Clark return earlier than normal. That was kind of reported yesterday at a throwaway report. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then, of course, our last segment will be our stats monster prediction for tonight's game. So let's get into it. The Grizzlies take on the Pacers tonight. It's going to be a team of the Pacers that have lost 4 of the last 5 games. So they are not playing well right now. This is a Pacers team that is 14-12. We're a very pedestrian team in the NBA. They do a lot of things well, got some good news, bad news situations, what they do well, what they don't do well in terms of their stats. So we'll talk about that too. But good news, bad news situation there is that they score a lot of points, like 128 points a game, first in the league in terms of their points per game right now. That's the bad news. The good news is that they are almost last in defensive points. So they let in also 126 points per game, a net rating of just 1.4, positive 1.4. But they are 29th in the league in terms of opponents' points per game. That is pretty bad. So the good news is that the Grizzlies should be able to score a lot of points. The bad news is that the Pacers are also scoring a lot of points every single game. They are second in terms of pace in the league, so they really like to get out and run the ball. They really like to get in half court, or get out in transition. The half court offense is not something they're a friend of. Something that the Grizzlies should take more note of in terms of their pace. The Grizzlies' pace is 15th in the league right now. That's something that we normally have seen in past years, quite a bit higher. And so I would love to see the Grizzlies take a page from the Pacers playbook and run the ball more. And we might see that go up as we see Ja play more games. That's something that he is obviously very good at and understands. Him and Desmond both can understand and see when the defense is that like second day fast break, when you get the ball or they make a basket and you can take the ball out pretty quickly. And not all their guys are gotten back as quick as they should have. So that secondary fast break is something that the Desmond is good at, something Ja really excels at. So maybe we might see that change as Ja plays more games. I hope that we see that change. But the Pacers really like to play. They really like to get up and down the court. That's really how they score a lot of points. I mean, they score a ton of points in transition every game. And they really, if you can slow them down and put them in a half-court offense, that they really struggle with that. That's something that they don't really do well. And so we'll talk about here in a minute what the Grizzlies should look to do in terms of to win this game. But just in terms of how fast they play, the Pacers really play quite fast. Again, second in the league in terms of pace. Offensive rating, again, like I said, first in the league. Defensive rating, last in the league. We've been over that. So, the Grizzlies have a chance to score a lot of points. The Pacers have a chance to score a lot of points tonight. And that's really, I think this, comes down to the Grizzlies defense. Something that, has gotten better over time. It will continue probably to get better as we get further along and get more people back. As Marcus Smart returns, he should have some really good substance to that defense as well. Obviously, Vince Williams is doing a great job. The Grizzlies defense are rating 9th in the league right now. So again, it was 12th a couple weeks ago. Now it's 9th. It's solidly in the top 10. They're only allowing in 112 points per game right now. That's good for 11th in the NBA. So that's extremely good. The problem, again, as we've talked about, is they're only scoring 106. That's dead last. But that is obviously an average of all the games they have done, and that does not take into account any Ja Morant games. So we saw that on Tuesday night, Ja Morant adding in 34 points. Having your big three solidly have 60 to 70 points every game, that really changes your points per game and your pace. So hopefully that will continue to decrease in terms, or to rise. The ranking will decrease, but the stat will rise. And so the Grizzlies have a chance to really get and start that tonight. So in terms of what the Pacers do well, what they're doing well, obviously, if you can think about all the stats they do well and the things they do well on the court, scoring is one of them. They are first in the league in field goal percentage, first in the league in field goals made, first in the league in field goals attempted. They are 8th and 9th in the league in three-pointers made and attempted, respectively. 7th in the league in percentage. They are very good at getting into the paint. They are first in the league in two-pointers. They are first in the league in two-point percentage. So they are extremely good at getting into the paint. They are extremely good at scoring inside the paint, and they also shoot they take a lot of threes too. So that's not to be noted. Just an offensive team that is hugely impactful. How impactful? Let's see. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players averaging double figures right now for the Pacers team. 8 players. That's a lot. Respective, the Grizzlies have 1, 2, 3. Well, Ja Morant is averaging 34 points a game right now. 1, 2, 3. Besides Ja Morant, before Ja Morant got here, it's 4. Ja Morant adds 5. And one of those is Marcus Smart, who's played very little, and one of those is Santi Aldama. So really and truly, the guys who have played most of the year, it's 3 players. It's Desmond, Jaren, and Santi, and that's it. And so if you think about the perspective of that versus the Pacers, who have 8 players averaging double figures, they have a lot of opportunity. They create a lot of opportunity to begin. That pace, then playing super fast, allows them to get more shots in, allows them to get more shots up. And so, again, that is something that the Grizzlies will really have to contend with. Do they try to beat them at their own game and just score as more points as they can? Do they, which I don't suggest. Do they really try to slow them down, get them in a half court offense and try to defend them better? It's something that people have done better over the last few games. Obviously, they lost 4 out of 5. So that's something the Grizzlies will really have to work with and have to work on tonight, is really slowing them down, getting them to kind of pick their spots more, and just decreasing the amount of shots they take. They take, let's see, 48 per game. They're 94 shots a game. 94 shots a game is a lot of shots. If you put that in perspective, the Grizzlies take 88 shots a game, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but it's 6 more shots, 6 more opportunities to score. And that's first in the league versus 20th in the league. That's how big of a disparity that is 6 shots is. So, the Pacers do a really good job of getting out in transition, creating offense on all levels, from 3-point, from behind the arc, inside the paint, mid-range. They do a really good job of creating offense on all levels. They're not a great free throw shooting team. They're not great at getting to the line. I say they're not great. They're average. They're slightly below average, 17th in the league in free throw attempts. So it happens. But something they are not good at is rebounding. We've been talking about rebounding as a problem for this team over the last few games in terms of other teams who are really good at rebounding. Just saw the Pelicans and Jonas Valanciunas. We talked about on that preview, getting him off the boards and creating more chances to rebound the ball. This is the opposite. They are almost dead last in rebounding, 29th in the league in total rebounding, 29th in the league in defensive rebounding, 23 in the league in offensive rebounding. So it's a team that doesn't rebound the ball well, but quite frankly, it's because they don't have a lot of opportunities to rebound the ball. They're making a lot of shots. They are, again, first in the league. Their field goal percentage is 50% in the league right now. So, I mean, it's 50% in each game. So they're making 1 out of every 2 shots they take. So there's just not a lot of rebounds to go around for them. So I think that stat might be a little misleading in terms of how good they are, in rebounding. But they are not a great rebounding team. So the Grizzlies can try to look to get some offensive rebounds in every game and try to create some second chance points. They are 10th in the league in steals, 3rd in the league in blocks. So all the offensive stats, they are top 10 pretty much universally across the board. Again, they are a very good offensive team at all levels. And you can imagine the defensive stats are opposite. They are all just terrible. They're 30th in the league and letting people shoot 3-pointers, and 30th in the league, and people getting to the paint. So their interior defense is not good. Their interior defense is one of the worst in the league. So the Grizzlies have the opportunity to get inside the paint. They have the opportunity to create chances inside the paint, just like we talked about on yesterday's show. They had 62 points in the paint on the game versus the Pelicans. 62 points in the paint, highest in any game so far on the season. Is that a coincidence that Ja's back? No, it's not. That's something he does extremely well. Obviously, we all know that. So Ja, Desmond, Downhill Des, those guys really have to look to get inside the paint tonight. The Pacers are letting people walk in the paint and score basketballs all the time. And so that's something the Grizzlies have to look to. How they win this game is getting into the paint and then looking for open threes, getting into the paint first. So even Jaren being very aggressive, getting inside the paint, very aggressive on the post ups, and then looking for other people outside for 3-pointers. That is what the Grizzlies have to do tonight, because it's easy. I mean, this is something they do anyway. They should be doing anyway. This is something that their personnel and players and game lends itself to. But even more so tonight with a team that is, again, one of the worst in the league in interior defenses, that's what they should look to. And ironically, their defense is bad in terms of letting people score, the Pacers, but their perimeter defense is actually pretty good. Their wings, their guards on the perimeter is actually pretty good. They do not let the opponents get a lot of threes up. First in the league in terms of 3-point opponents, only allowing 27 per game. So maybe that works out to the advantage for the Grizzlies, because we don't really want them taking a lot of threes anyway. They don't really have the personnel to take a lot of threes. So maybe that works into our advantage in terms of the Pacers not letting them take a lot of threes, not forcing them inside into driving lanes. That's something the Grizzlies would rather have. And so that's what the Grizzlies have to do strategy-wise tonight. That's where they need to learn, or that's what they need to look to really create chances. Inside the paint, downhill, get as much shots as you can, and then offensive rebounding, second chance points. That's where the Grizzlies need to excel on offense tonight. In terms of the defense, limiting them on pretty much everything they can is the hard part, because they do so many things well. They can shoot the ball inside. They have really good 3-point shooters. Tyrese Halliburton is shooting 8 points or 8 threes a game. Buddy Hield is shooting 7 3-pointers a game. Like, just between both of them, almost 6 3-pointers a game go up every game. So Buddy Hield and Tyrese Halliburton are very good 3-point shooters, shooting 42% and 38% or 39% respectively right now between the two of them. So really having to limit those guys on 3-point shots. Like, if you see those guys, if your man is Tyrese Halliburton, if your man is Buddy Hield, you're attached to that man on the perimeter. You don't need to rotate off of those guys. And if you're helping down, cheat down a little bit. Don't help down so much. So those two guys, being on the lookout for the amount of 3-pointers they shoot. And they make a lot of them. They are very good at it. They're very good at perimeter shooting. So hopefully the Grizzlies can limit those guys in just their perimeter shooting. And I think the interior defense takes care of itself. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. being there and on the perimeter defense just takes care of itself. Or excuse me, on the interior defense. I think he's there on help side defense. I think that obviously is the anchor of the defense. He's the reason why the Grizzlies are so good on defense. And I don't think that really has to I don't think we just have to really game plan for that. I think that's just something that happens every game. Jaren Jackson Jr. is just that good. So hopefully the Grizzlies can really limit the perimeter shots. I think that's where they need to focus on in terms of limiting their offense for the Pacers. Because like I said, this team is a team that scores 128 points per game. It is a lot of points. And so you look at the Grizzlies, they only allow, it's a great defense that only allows in, I think 111, 112. They only allow 112 points per game. So that's a big difference. 128 to 112 is a big difference for the Grizzlies to try to figure out how to stop this Pacers team and kind of bring them back down to earth. So the Pacers are playing on a back-to-back. They played last night. They did win. I believe they played Charlotte last night. They won in Charlotte. So they're coming here to Memphis after that. But like I mentioned, They played a lot of games over the past 2 weeks. They played on the 13th, 15th, 16th, 18th, 20th, and now again on the 21st. So this is a team, while super fast pace, maybe that lends itself to maybe some guys being a little more tired than normal, while the Grizzlies have played a lot less games over those last 2 weeks than the Pacers have. So they lost 4 out of the last 5. Let's make that 5 out of the last 6. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. We'll talk about Brandon Clark as well as maybe even Marcus Smart playing tonight or possibly on Saturday versus Atlanta. We'll be right back.
I am highly upset, man.
Oh, man.
ESPN, you dastardly dogs you. Last week had us feeling good. They picked the Grizzlies to be first in the West with about 48.5 wins. And what a difference a few days makes.
What a difference.
You put out your list of the top 100 players in the NBA. Desmond Bain jumps in at 61. Jaren Jackson Jr. comes in at number 31. Jaren's top 25 to me, but if you, all right, whatever. I think that's a little slight to Jaren. Desmond Bain is disgusting, in my opinion. But then we get Ja Morant, All-NBA player, 2-time All-Star, one of the most dynamic offensively players in the NBA, Ja Morant. That guy was number 35 on their list, Kenny Stubblefield. The same people that said the Grizzlies will be the first team in the West. They're going to get that done with just some regular dudes.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Just curious, you kind of talked about the transfers and things like that. How has that changed your mindset from a roster management standpoint? Like, incredible recruiter. All the classes, I think we had 2 back-to-back and 21 and 22 top classes. How does that change with the transfer portal? Do you start focusing more on upperclassmen? Do you kind of get away from the younger freshmen? How does that work?
Yeah, so I still believe in our coaching staff and the way we do things and developing guys. And that I will never get away from that philosophy. We're still going to recruit a high school class. Now, there's a lot of colleges out there that say, screw this. We're pushing all the chips in on this roster, win right now, and we'll figure it out. Sure. And if it doesn't, right, it implodes and bad things happen. But I think you still have to bring in true freshmen and develop them and see what they can become. And that I'll never waver from that. But the portal certainly changed things.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the show, The Daily Grind, where we talk the Grizzlies every single day here on Bluff City Media. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We usually go into our shameless promotion time. So if you have a moment, just stop. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for Bluff City Media. We got all kinds of shows over there. One for everybody, I promise. We got Tiger shows, we got Grizzlies shows, we got soccer shows, we got all kinds of stuff, kind of general sports shows, kind of national stuff as well. So I promise there's something for everybody. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. It really helps us out. And also, if you want, if it behooves you, become a Bluff City Media Insider. $5 a month, super cheap, super easy. You get access to our Discord. You get 20% off all our merchandise all the time. You get access to early merchandise early. Starting in 2024, you'll have access to insider shows that only insiders get to watch and no one else gets to see. So those will be released in 2024. So lots of big things planned for Bluff City Media. So make sure you go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go and become a Bluff City Media Insider, bluffcitymedia.co/join. It's $5 a month. And I promise you will not regret it. So give that a shot. Going back to the show, the rundown, Brandon Clark returning. This is something that came out yesterday. Mark Spears, ESPN.com, reporting, and really, I think it was an article about John Morant. It was not even an article about Brandon Clark. It was an article, just kind of something different. And there was just a small tidbit in there, like a paragraph, that he had talked to Brandon Clark, or maybe Brandon Clark's team, and that he was targeting the All-Star break, like February 27th, to return, which is obviously news to everybody here because we all thought that Brandon Clark was done for the season. Maybe we get him back for the playoffs if you make the playoffs. And of course, right now, that's just looking like he's just done for the season. So very interesting report yesterday from Mark Spears of ESPN.com. And that would be huge. I mean, that's essentially basically the trade deadline for a lot of these teams. That would be like trading for Brandon Clark at the trade deadline and giving nothing up to get him. That's exactly what that's like. Now, what he looks like in his return, who knows? But that would be huge for the Grizzlies, especially if they're able to go on a if they're going on a run today, or this not today, but it starts today. But they go on a run over the next 2 weeks and really start to get some wins together and put themselves back in the playoff picture, which is not out of the picture at all. I mean, John Morant is John Morant. He does as much as anybody else if these guys do, and superstars in the league. But you're going to get Marcus Smart hopefully back. He's doubtful for tonight, so probably not going to play tonight. But I do expect him to play at the Atlanta in Atlanta. I think that's Saturday. We do expect him to play then. If that's typically how the Grizzlies do it. So they'll go doubtful, they'll go questionable. Questionable usually just means that he's going to play unless something crazy happens. And the next, when he goes out to warm up, if there's something just kind of crazy happens and just feels really weird, then he won't play. So as you get these guys back, Mark Smart, maybe Luke Kennard in the next week or so as well. You're just adding more firepower, adding more defensive firepower, adding more offensive firepower. And those kind of things can allow you to go on a serious run to get yourself back into playoff contention. And then you get Brandon Clark back at the All-Star break. Basically, again, at the trade deadline, you're trading for Brandon Clark and having to give nothing up in return. And you're getting a starting power forward. And that starting Brandon Clark and Jaren Jackson Jr. combination, as we've seen before, is something that is beautiful to see. It is fun to watch. The expectation is Brandon Clark comes back and Brent's Brandon Clark. Now, coming back from an Achilles injury when your game is predicated on being a high flyer, being an athletic person who plays above the rim, I don't know if that comes back right away. I don't know if that's something that there is no, there's no limitations there. So obviously coming back, targeting something and actually getting to the floor are two different things. Targeting something, I just say I'm Brandon Clark. I feel good. I'm targeting the All-Star break. Whether that's something that the medical staff on this team has actually said, yeah, that's something we're also targeting, was not reported. So I think that's the question I have for this report, or for Brandon Clark and just for the Grizzlies, is yes, he was, he himself is targeting the All-Star break. What is the Grizzlies medical staff targeting? Because those are two different things. As we've seen before, this Grizzlies medical staff, they are very cautious. Just the Grizzlies front office is very cautious with all their injuries. As we've seen so far, they really like to slow roll those injuries and make sure those guys are 100% ready to come back when they come back, which is, is a good thing for Brandon Clark. If it's a situation where he feels good, but again, your game is predicated on playing above the rim, you really need to make sure you're 100%. And maybe that's good for the Grizzlies. They are looking out for him. Maybe it's not the All-Star break. Maybe they have a different timeline in mind. So I don't know. I have no idea. I would be curious to see if someone asked about that tonight in pregame, Taylor Jenkins, about Brandon Clark, see what they say. He might just say nothing. He might just say he's working and he looks good and he's whatever. The Grizzlies are not going to put a timeline on it. They never have, especially with something like an Achilles injury. They're not going to do that. They're not going to say, yeah, he's targeting the 27th. That's how obviously this is Brandon Clark's team. So again, it was a very minimal paragraph and passing comment of Brandon Clark coming back. But I think it's very interesting the way it was reported, the way it was done, because that's an obvious Brandon Clark and his team putting that out, not the Grizzlies, because they're never going to put a time on this stuff. So it's curious to see what if that actually matches up with the Grizzlies and what they have in mind. I hope so, because again, getting Brandon Clark back middle of the season, trade deadline, that'd be huge, especially if he comes back and he's starts at 75% of what he was and maybe gets 100% in a few weeks. That kind of stuff is big for if you have a playoff run, or if you're trying to get back into that playoff race. That is huge for the Grizzlies. And he released a video on his Instagram yesterday as well of him dunking. So, I mean, by all accounts, he looks great. By all accounts, it looks like he's going well. Obviously, dunking in practice and stuff like that is way different than playing an NBA game. But you'd think that maybe that's something positive to go along with support that he is well on his way to getting back. So I'm excited about it. I know everybody else is as well. That kind of came out of nowhere, a little bit more pep in our step right before Christmas to go along with the Ja Morant game as well. So shout out to Brandon Clark. Hopefully he is doing well and he does get back by the All-Star break, because that would be huge for this team. Let's take another quick break. We'll be right back. On the other side, we'll talk about who our stats monster might be for tonight's game.
Seth Hennigan just still. He
Doesn't look himself.
He just doesn't, in the big moments, he's not making the plays that have to be made. If you look at the raw stats, they're not terrible, but the 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
And he fumbled twice. They didn't lose those fumbles, but 2 fumbles and 2 interceptions, one of them coming at a terrible time on a 4th down late in the game when Memphis really needed to put points on the board. But I just don't think Seth is playing well enough to elevate this team.
Right.
I think he's playing well enough for Memphis to be fine, but as far as for them to do something special and to elevate this team, he's just not playing like that.
Tune in to On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Kenny, there are certain guys in the NBA that are enigmatic players. They're going to be appealing to a large fan base. But when you have guys like that, who like John Morant, who have off-court issues he's had, Kyrie Irving has had the things he's had, the NBA doesn't particularly like the fact that those guys are larger than life. If I'm NBA, if I'm ESPN, who of course are working together on all this stuff,
Yeah.
I'm going to start telling you who you need to like. And it's going to be a different type of guy to kind of play off of the guys that are going to be there anyway. Let me put these squeaky clean image guys that we want to put in front of you up there as well to kind of counteract some of the stuff we get with the guys that we don't have any control out of. So let me put the Tyrese Halliburtons in front of you. Let me put the Shai Gilgeous-Alexanders in front of you, the Josh Giddeys. Let me force these guys in front of you, not particularly on national television games, but let me just kind of create these little sub agendas with these guys to kind of make them those second tier stars that we're gonna like put out in front as well. Like, they're doing this on purpose, man. Like, if anybody can't see this, like, come on, man. Do not sit there and tell me that you really think that Tyrese Halliburton is a top 20 player in the NBA.
Tune in to The Anthony Sane Show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the Daily Grind, where we talk the Grizzlies every single day right here on Bluff City Media. Stats Monster for tonight. Let's talk about it. Who do we think the Stats Monster is going to be? Who will show up tonight? And I think it's an obvious pick. I really do think it should be Ja Morant. With obviously him being back and then also his ability to get inside the paint, I think it should be Ja Morant. But, however, I think that's the obvious pick. I do think Ja Morant's going to have a big game. But at the same time, I'm not sure that this team has anybody that can stop Jaren Jackson Jr. Jaren Jackson Jr. should have a big night. There's no interior defense to speak of at all for this team. They don't have just a pure shot blocker other than, Miles Turner. But I think that, while Miles Turner is good, I think that Jaren Jackson Jr. is way better. Somebody that I think that Jackson Jr. can dominate on the front court if he needs to. And so while, Jaren and Dez probably might be the obvious choices for Stats Monster tonight because of the inability to protect the lane for both for this team and the Pacers team, and the ability for those guys to get inside the lane and get the paint and score the basketball. I think they're having big nights. To be clear, these three guys should have big nights every night for the Grizzlies. They're big three. Jaren, Dez, and Josh should have 70 points between them three every night. I think Jaren is a guy that can really get down tonight. I'm all in on Jaren being the Stats Monster. I think he's a guy that really has some success inside the game, inside the paint, if he's aggressive. I'm going to always throw in a caveat with him. He's got to be aggressive. He was aggressive last game, ended up with 24 points against the Pelicans. You got to continue to be aggressive for Jaren. For Tripp, he's got to just continue to attack the paint. And then, when Ja does, just float out to that 3-point line like he did against the Pelicans for that, late three in the fourth quarter to really splash it home. Slide out there into the other areas where Ja is not, create some space, get some wide open threes. So shout out to the Grisette for joining the show today. I see your comments. And Trip 35, 7, 4, and 5 for Trip tonight from the comment from Grizzlies. I agree. 35, 7, 4, and 5 would be huge. I will take that stat line any day of the week. So, but I do think Jaron's going to be that guy. I think it's the stats monster when we come back tomorrow and talk about this game on this show. I think that's who we're giving this award away to. So, again, the Grizzlies are going to have a big game from all those guys every night. But I think Jaron is tonight's game. So thanks for everybody joining the show today. That's going to be it for our show. We'll be back tomorrow. Don't forget tonight, make sure you join the live post-game show with Daniel and Nate. Those guys are live after every single game for the Grizzlies. So they're there on Bluff City Media, our YouTube page, Twitter, Instagram Live now, literally everywhere. And they can see your comments from every place now. It used to be just YouTube, which was weird, but the platform we're using is now updated their stuff so they can see your comments from everywhere. It's a very interactive show. And so they put your comments on screen. They talk to you guys. It's like a call-in show. So it's shout out to those guys. They do a great job after every single game. So they won't take breaks. I will take breaks next week. Luke and I will not be here next week. We're taking Christmas off. But Daniel and Nate are always here, always doing this show no matter what. So they do a great show. Make sure you join that tonight. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like I said, it's a big help for us over at Bluff City Media. We get some cash from that. Then that helps us continue to do these shows for you guys. So we'll be back tomorrow. Appreciate you joining us. See you then.